Jeff Church, the Assistant Superintendent for Auxiliary Services, so I'd like to call him to the podium.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Johnson. Exhibit 1 is an application from Casey Rayfield to rent a theater at High Brighton High School for a Baptist Youth Conference, and this will be, the rental dates are August the 5th through August the 9th, 2013. And school has approved this, and I recommend approval that they're able to use the theater at High Brighton High School.
Okay, do I hear a motion? The board has had an opportunity to look over this application and Facilities Emergency Action Plan. Do I hear a motion that we approve the request for the use of the theater at High Brighton High School for the period of time stated?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the use of the High Brighton High School Theater from August 5th through 9th for the conference as stated.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Anybody have any questions? Any comments?
I got a question. The address is 311 something road. I don't know what town he lives in.
Abingdon Road.
That's Abington.
Abingdon Road,
Abingdon
it's out in
Road.
Caldwell.
That's
Yes,
out towards the
out in Gamble.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Exhibit 2, we have a very brief presentation for the schematic plans for the new middle school. Thank you for allowing us to put this on the agenda today. I know it's we're able to move forward 2 weeks by being able to do this today instead of waiting until July. Mr. Walker's with us today. I'm going to turn the podium over to him in just a second and let him go through the plans with you. But he has allowed me to go down to school planning with you and the office of the State Fire Marshal's office the last couple of weeks, and been able to look at the review process and look at what we have going on. One thing that you're going to see that he's going to address is we're looking at, we're really trying to afford, we're value engineering, we're trying to be able to put in water source heat pumps for the heating system, and that's been a topic of conversation for quite a while with our heat system. We went down to school planning and mentioned to them that we're looking at the rooftop units, and we got a pretty plain response. You don't want to do that. You want to go with water source. And we mentioned the barred units as well, and they also suggested going with water source heat pumps. So that's the direction that we're leaning towards at this point. I ran our numbers looking at our current system, and we can pay for the difference between the water source and rooftop units in approximately 6 years. So I think it's going to be a good payback. With that, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Jeff. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Johnson. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. It's been a lot of fun working with Jeff and all the staff and my engineers to bring this design that you've seen before to this point right here. This is the site plan. One of the biggest things that's been added to this site plan since you've seen it before is we have bus parking right here with the idea that it would attach to the bus parking behind the high school, and then they would kind of loop around and work together. We've shown an 8-lane running track. That's going to be as an alternate. Base bid, however, will be a soccer field. We will also bid as an alternate the lights for that soccer field. We have all the parking that you would need for all the staff and the visitors right out in front of the school, and that's where the front door is going to be, right there. And we do have a connection over here to North Carolina 90. That's going to be one of the main entry points, but for students that are going to be dropping off back and forth between the two schools, we have the connection to the front of the school right here. Any questions about the site before I go to the plan?
I'm assuming, Mr. Walker, that the track is going to be complete with lanes marked and
Yes.
everything? Okay.
Yes, it will be a complete track, surfacing, drainage, markings, the works. Yes.
But that will be an alternate based on how it is.
Right, okay. And coming in the entrance from 90 there, what's the rectangular box to the right of the drive?
This right here?
Yes.
Okay, that's going to be a temporary silt basin. One of the things you're having to do when you grade this is you're going to have to be cutting a bank right through here and then using a series of lifts of fill right through here. Well, by doing all that grading operation, you have to be able to control the silt. And that's what that is right there. And it's a temporary measure.
Okay.
The connecting road, which connects over, I guess you said where students will be able to actually drop off, not that one, but that one.
Yes.
Is that a 2-lane?
Yes, it is.
It is, so it's going to be going in and out? that
Yes, it
way?
is.
Okay.
And one of the things that school planning recommended to us is that, and it's not shown here, but we're going to pursue this, is separating the bus parking from the other vehicular traffic, whether it be access to the kitchen or the cars. So we're going to put that in our next series of plans.
Any other
Okay.
questions?
Okay. This is the floor plan, very similar to what you've seen before. There are essentially 7 different wings, starting at the very front of the building, where I mentioned where the car park is. That's your main entry. You'd be coming into a lobby area where you've got a security situation where you have to come into here and be buzzed into the office area and then eventually be, checked out, make sure that you can be buzzed into the rest of the school while it's in operation. So that's going to work very well from a security standpoint. And then right off of that is the administration wing right through here. On the other side of the main entry lobby is the cafeteria and the kitchen. And then across an open courtyard is going to be the media center. That's in green. These are the computer rooms, and this is the back area for service for the media center. Across the way here in the kind of the purple color is the gymnasium with storage in the back, 2 locker rooms, and a PE classroom. Then you've got 3 wings, one for the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th. And then the yellow areas over there are for band, art, and vocal. The far room up here is Project Lead the Way. And I've had the opportunity to meet with Beth Fox and go through that in detail already. And we'll do likewise as we continue with the project. And one nice feature about this project is you've got these marvelous outside courtyards that we're going to use for all different kinds of things. Could be greenhouses, could be gardens, could be artwork, could be all different kinds of things. So I think that's a great opportunity for the students to get outside and do things in the open air. Okay, so any questions about the floor plan?
At the end of the courtyard, what kind of, it appears to have a gate there.
It does.
Is there going to be a wall, or is it going to be a fenced area?
It's going to be designed 3 different ways. One thing I would, the two ways we'd really like to do it would be with a solid wall, regular doors, and with a cover over the top of it. Another way would be to use like an iron gate, if you will, similar types of doors and cover. And then the base bid will be chain link fencing gates. The reason why we have to do this is by code, you're limited to a 75-foot common path of travel. So if you put that wall right there, you meet that requirement. And like Jeff said, we went down and met with the State Fire Marshal's office, Tim Morrison, and he's reviewed this whole setup. So,
So all of those gates would
Right.
be locked?
That's correct, yes. Yeah, another
And-
security feature.
There would be access from inside going out?
That's correct, because they have to be that way for egress
Right,
purposes.
I understand that. And you say there's going to be walls, or they're going to be
Well,
iron fences?
There's going to be 3 different designs. One design would be, and that's the way I've shown it on the elevations that you'll see in a minute, is a solid wall with solid doors, with a
Okay.
small roof part over the doors.
Okay.
The second one would be a wrought iron gate on either side of those doors. And then the third way of doing it, which would be base bid, would just be chain link fence and gates. So, but we're using alternates to make sure, it's one way that you can make sure that you can fall within the budget and award the project, so.
One area that we have in the courtyards, and that came from Ms. Vaughn, when we're talking about artistic, we're along the wall, we're gonna look at framing out of brick, we're gonna frame an area and stucco it, and not put brick inside it, and paint it white or what have you. That way each grade level can come in each year, whatever the school decides, that can be, it's a mural spot, and it's a place for students to provide artwork. And then if they wanna change it to next year, next grade level, they can paint it and go forward.
When did we decide, I know that we have talked about a theater possibly later. When did we work that in if we can build that later?
Well, go back to the site plan a little bit. As part of the grading operation, back here in the back, this whole area is going to be graded flat. It's well enough area for classroom additions if you need it, but that's primarily where the theater would go. And we've also provided for additions at the end of each one of these wings, because we're building to a base of 750 students, but the classrooms are only going to be built to a capacity of 600.
So the design, in effect, if we get so fortunate as to add a theater in the future, it's going to be a separate building?
No, it would be actually part of this building. It would be joined to it. One of the things we're doing with the code, as far as the type of construction, it's a type 2B type of construction. It's an unlimited area, because with a school situation, if you've got enough doors to the outside into these courtyards, which we will have, you can have an unlimited area. So down the road, you can add as much as you want without having to add firewalls and fire doors and that kind of thing. So. Any further questions about the plans?
What's the width between the buildings where those walls that you're talking about?
It's a little more than 30 feet.
And they're about 100 foot long.
Right.
Now the part that you really want to see, let you look at the elevations. It's been real creative with the elevations.
Well, one thing I've been trying to do is to keep things really simple. You know, I wanted to keep real simple rectangular forms, because that's what contractors really like to have from a construction standpoint. So if you look back on that plan, you'll notice that we are keeping, as best we can, rectangular shapes, blocks, if you will. Well, by doing that, I thought, well, I want to keep it simple with the look of the building too, but I want to kind of add some interest to it. So what I've done is taken those blocks and colored them with different bricks. No real tricks with the bricks, mind you, no banding much or special decals or that kind of thing. Just make each one of these blocks a different color. The only accent parts that you'd have would be windows, like you see, those are the windows that would go into the cafeteria. You've got some accents here by the front door. You might have a little bit of banding here with some block for these windows where they come close together. That's glass block that would let a lot of natural light into your gymnasium. But I'm trying to limit those kind of features to a bare minimum, kind of keep it really, really simple. But just pick up the color difference from different wings. Like when you go to 6th grade, you can kind of recognize your wing because it's got its own particular kind of block. And then when you get into the fine art wing, it's got a different coloration to it. So you kind of feel like you're in a different area just by looking at the different colors. And you'll see those colors as you go down the main corridor. You've got that one long main corridor, and it's a lot of glass between the wings. So, you'll all of a sudden know exactly where you are as you progress through the building. And then this is an area where you'd be adding on future classrooms. Once again, that would be just plain block, perhaps stucco that you would use for painting, for murals and that kind of thing. This is the face that you'd look toward the soccer field. But there's no sense in putting brick on that wall when down the road you'd be adding classrooms, and then you'd have to be painting the brick or taking the brick off, either one. So trying to plan for that down the road. And it saves a little bit of money too, so. But I'm trying to keep it as simple as I can to keep the cost down. And I figure by doing this coloration with the brick, I've got a good chance of that.
Our next steps will be moving in, if the schematics are approved tonight, the next steps would be to move into design development and give you an update at either the September, at the latest, the September board meeting, possibly the August board meeting. So with that, any other questions about the design before we move forward?
On the south elevation there, it shows as a rise.
That's correct. We're stepping up.
On the west, it doesn't show that. Is it buried back into the ground a little bit or something?
Well, the west is looking at the front of the building,
Oh, that's-
and the rise will be,
Gotcha.
you're
That's
kind of
the
looking
front
back at the, you can kind of see it here.
Gotcha, okay. West is the front.
Mhm. All right.
One question, if the possibility ever arose to have additional acreage there, would the plan change, or maybe just the position of the plan on the property?
It would probably be the position on the property. If you had additional land, I guess, you could work with your entry drive and maybe make savings there perhaps.
Maybe make it a straighter entrance?
Perhaps, yes.
But I was just wondering if additional acreage, if it ever became available, during the process, if by moving the facility one way or the other, could we possibly save some money in that area?
It's possible. The biggest savings, of course, would be with the entry drive.
Right.
If you moved it to another location where you weren't putting it in a series of levels of fill, like I was talking about before, when you do that, you really have to confine the edge with a curb and gutter, for water purposes. If you're going to go into a cut situation and more of a straighter line, then you can save on all that curb and gutter. And that could be a pretty good savings. The shifting of the building a little bit, it's working pretty well the way it is right now. I mean,
Probably minimal
yeah.
savings.
I didn't know if the building would shift any, or even if the athletic field, as far as the soccer field, those areas would shift any at all.
Maybe slightly. Every time you get an option like that, you like to look and see, what you can do to help you out. And we've worked it within the property lines pretty well as they are. So it would help some. I'm not sure it would be a great help.
Any other questions? I respectfully request that you approve the schematic designs that Mr. Walker has presented to us.
Okay, do I hear a motion that we approve the schematics for the new High Brighton District Middle School? Do I hear a motion to that effect?
I move we approve the schematic design for the new High Brighton District Middle School as presented.
Second.
And a second. Any other questions or comments? Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Church. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Next, we have Carlin Miller, our finance officer.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Johnson, tonight I have 4 budget amendments for your consideration and an interim budget. We will start with the 4 budget amendments to close out the 2012-2013 school year. Budget amendment number 20 is to the State Public School Fund. We received an additional allocation of $2,000 after the last board meeting, and we also moved some funds around in purpose function codes to best utilize our state funding. Budget amendment number 21 is to the local current expense fund, and we increased some programs in the local current expense fund to reflect the activity that has occurred in those accounts. They were all increases in revenues and expenditures for our White Bus program, our Bibles in Schools program, the Hand in Hand Day Treatment program, and the Junior ROTC program. Budget amendment number 22 is to the Federal Grants Fund, and it's simply making some switches between purpose function codes to maximize the utilization of federal funding. And budget amendment number 23 is to the Child Nutrition Fund, and it actually decreases the Child Nutrition Fund by $102,000, and it is just to accurately reflect the revenues and expenditures, which were both less than we projected at the beginning of the year. If you approve these budget amendments, our total 2012-2013 budget will be $177,117,997.61. And as just a reminder, the majority of that goes to salaries, so that is a significantly good to our local economy, I would say. And I respectfully request that you approve the 4 budget amendments this evening.
Okay, do I hear a motion that we approve the 4 budget amendments, those being the State Public School Fund, the Local Current Expense Fund, the Federal Grants Fund, and the Child Nutrition Enterprise Fund?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the 4 budget items be approved as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much. That was out with the old. Now we're ready to end with the new. We do not have a budget resolution from the state, and in order for us to keep functioning next week, we need to adopt a interim budget, which simply says that we will not spend more than in 2013-14 until we receive a budget than we have received in 2012-2013. And I respectfully request that you approve our interim budget so we can move on next week.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion that we approve the interim 2013-2014 budget?
Make a motion, we approve the 2013-2014 interim budget.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Next item on the agenda is the Associate Superintendent, Dr. Trish Johnson. Turn it over to Dr. Johnson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the board, on behalf of Dr. Stone, I have 3 administrative appointment recommendations for your action today. I'd like to start with the West Elementary School Principal. The recommendation is for Christy Holler. Christy is of Hudson, North Carolina. She is currently serving as the Assistant Principal at West Caldwell High School. She has extensive experience. In fact, she's worked at all 3 levels. She has served 6 years as an elementary school teacher. She served as a middle school assistant principal as well as a high school assistant principal. And she's also served as an instructional coach at both the middle and the high school levels. Recommend Ms. Holler for a 2-year contract effective July 1st. Respectfully recommended.
Okay, do I hear a motion that we approve Christy Holler to be the new principal at West Lenore Elementary School for a 2-year contract beginning on 7/1/2013?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend Christy Holler as the new principal of West Lenore Elementary School with a 2-year contract to begin Monday, July 1st.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Any comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And let me say that Ms. Holler, I'm certain, would be here, but she is in Europe on a trip with students from West Caldwell High School. Next, I'd like to recommend for Assistant Principal at High Brighton High School, Mr. Michael H. DeWitt, who currently is residing in Granite Falls, North Carolina. He has extensive experience as a teacher, previously in Prince William County Public Schools in Woodbridge, Virginia, also served as assistant principal there, and is currently an assistant principal at Statesville Middle School and South Iredale High Schools, or has served in both places. He is currently on a family vacation, so he's not here today either. But we recommend Mr. DeWitt for a 2-year contract effective July 1st, 2013, and that's at High Brighton High School. Respectfully requested.
Do I hear a motion that we approve Michael DeWitt to be Assistant Principal at High Brighton High School for a 2-year contract, effectively starting on next Monday, July the 1st, 2013.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve Michael DeWitt, High Brighton High School Assistant Principal, 2-year contract beginning July 1st.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay. And the last recommendation I have for you this afternoon is a recommendation for Assistant Principal at Whitnall Elementary School, recommending Kim Case. Kim is of Lenore, and she is a Caldwell County employee. She served as a teacher within the district and in regular education as well as AIG education. She's currently serving as an instructional facilitator within the district. We're respectfully recommending Kim for a 2-year contract effective July 1st, 2013, and she is in the county today. Respectfully requested, Assistant Principal at Whitnall Elementary School, Kim Case.
Okay, do I hear a motion that we approve as Assistant Principal at Whitnall Elementary School, Mrs. Kim Case, for a 2-year contract beginning July 1st, 2013?
I move we approve Kim Case as the new position, Assistant Principal at Whitnall School, 2-year contract beginning July 1st, 2013.
Second.
Okay, any questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations, Mrs. Case. We look forward to you taking that position.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That ends my report.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, thank you. The next thing we have is basically just the announcement that we're going to have our next regular board meeting at Patterson Science Center, and that will be on July the 15th, 2013. There will be a reception at 5 o'clock, and I understand there's going to be some hot dogs and maybe, I don't know, some hamburgers and fixings and so forth. So come out for that. And then we will have our regular July board meeting following at 6 o'clock at the Science Center. Anyone else on the board have anything they want to add?
I move we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Everyone have a great summer here and a great 4th of July.
I can see Mr. Barry.
Yes.
Thank you.